Russ Case, the editor of Reptiles Magazine, ReptileChannel.com. We're here in Fountain Valley, California with Jay Brewer, Prehistoric Pets, the Reptile Zoo, and we're going to be talking today about blue-tongued skinks.
This guy here just had his tongue sticking out there, and as you can see, it's bright blue. Now, blue-tongued skinks come from actually Australia and New Guinea, and the chain of islands around New Guinea. Now, as you can see, this guy here is actually a nice, beautiful lizard. They come in a lot of different colors. This one here is a New Guinea species. The Australian ones come like literally so many kinds out of Australia. It's amazing. They're very, very different. There's even little tiny skinny ones and different shapes and everything else. But they all have a few things in common. They all make great pets.
They're being bred in captivity regularly, right?
Correct.
So they're widely available.
Now, this particular species out of New Guinea isn't bred too much in captivity. The Australian one's exclusively bred in captivity.
Okay, so you'll see these guys out at reptile expos and in shops. So let's talk about what you keep them in.
Okay, well,
Eric, let me hold him.
Skinks are pretty simple to keep for starters. They don't have they actually have a pretty broad temperature gradient. They do well in. All the caging I like to do, I like to give a temperature grade. As you can see, this is a glass end and a screen end. And the idea behind this is on a hot day, the heat escapes. On a cold day, the heat's held in by the glass. Now, if you don't have this type of cage and it's not available for you, the common tops are all screened. Perfectly fine. What you do is use a dome light on this side here. But no matter what you use, you want to use a directional heat lamp. As you can see, that when I say directional heat lamp, that's a basking type. And I prefer like a red, blue, or green. It helps with the amount of light that it puts out at nighttime. Some animals you can turn off the heat at night depending on the time of year, what they are. Blue-tongued skink, I'd leave it on all the time. And what I would do also is to have instead of using like a hot rock or anything, you'd want to use a flat pad because they live on the ground. They're not arboreal. Now for bedding, we use bark. But you got to remember when using bark for bedding, this guy here eats like basically a food. You can buy a lot of foods at the local pet store. They're canned. They're really similar to cat food, canned cat food, canned dog food. And what you want to do, if you want to give them a treat, you can mix a little bit extra banana in there with it because banana is one of their favorite flavors. They like fruits. They're omnivorous, so they'll literally eat anything from a mouse to a baby bird to just fallen fruit. And so now what we do is to prevent that bark from getting in their mouth when they're eating it, which you got a nice little flat bowl here, and then you put the food inside here. And that way when they're actually eating, you're not going to pick up any of the bark and ingest any, which is not good at all. It could get them impacted. This is a water bowl. On both cases, you want that on your cool end. Now, if you live in a really cold area, you actually might need to monitor the cool end of your cage. Because what you want to do is you don't want the temperature in your cage to be below 65, 68 on the cool end. But more importantly, you can't get that cold ever with a reptile unless he has a nice heated area. And this heated area you want to keep between 82 and you could actually let it go all the way up to 95 only if you have a gradient. If this is 95 and this is 85, you don't want it that way because what ends up happening is on a really hot day, your animal wouldn't be able to escape the heat. And you always want them to be able to escape the heat.
So down at the cooler end, you'd maybe 65. You don't want it to go.
Oh, I mean room temperature. Honestly, if you live in a normal house and you run either an air conditioner in the summer or a heater in the winter, you're not going to have to worry about it at all. What this end is, except if it's too hot because you're putting too much heat in.
What about lights?
Lights. Now, like I said, we like to use red, blue, or green on the basking light. It's a directional heat, so that the heat goes right down to the bottom, and that helps back up that heat of the heat pad. And we have a thermometer up front. Now, fluorescence. A lot of things need UV light. A blue-tongued skink does not need UV lighting because, first of all, it hides under bushes all day. It's nocturnal. They just don't require UV, but you'd want to put calcium in their food. It's important to add calcium to their food. Most of the canned stuff is going to come with enough, but if you're going to want to give them any insects, you want to make sure you put calcium on them and vitamins.
Okay. How long do you think these guys generally live in captivity?
Wow, that's a good question because I would say the average life is probably somewhere around 10 to 14 years.
Okay.
That's a little bit out of the can. I don't know. I can't say I'm 100% positive, but right about there.
It's going to be a little while, so you always want to do your research first and know what you're getting into before you get an animal.
And this is an adult, by the way. They start out about, they're just the cutest little things about that big, but they'll grow that big as short as 6 months if you feed them like once or twice a day. They can really grow fast.
They're great lizards, and this one's definitely mellow. So, all right, Jay, thanks.
Okay.